Hello, this is Isabelle again, teaching you Thinking Body, aka Syntonics. Syntonics is the work created and taught by Judith Koltaï, and Thinking Body is my rendition of this work. Very deep work. Thanks for joining me for this 5th class. This class is a continuation of the class number 4 that I did just before, but you could do it out of order as long as you've done class number 1, so you have some basics. Remember that we're not looking at achieving, we're looking at discovering or rediscovering and discovering how we can coordinate all of ourselves so we have all of our possibilities available in our movement and our bodies. Of course, I have my friend Skelly with me. You can say hi to him. He's going to help me out for this class. So we're going to do some standing work, a bit of test position to start off, and then we'll go to the floor. Okay, so let's just stand for a bit. See where you are on your feet. So is your weight more forward or back? Just notice that. Notice how your feet are aligned. And if your feet are quite close, would you widen your stance a bit more, so a bit wider than your hip width. Your knees are neither bent nor pulled back, so soft knees but straight-legged pretty much. And just stand here for a minute, eyes open or closed, to notice how you're standing, how your breath feels, how much effort is required for you to stand like this, and anything you might notice happening in the front of your body or the back of your body. And let's put our feet really parallel, in a hard parallel. So if you have lines on the floor, that's helpful. Otherwise, you can take a look down. Make sure your heel is aligned with your second toe, and make sure your knees are aligned with your second toe as well. So you might have to turn out your knee to do this. When you do this, make sure you're lengthening your lower back. So that could be done by softening your glutes. If you're using your glutes right now, just make them really soft. And then on your out breath, you could bring your pubic bone forward. In breath, so just moving your pelvis a bit. Out breath. In breath, let your pelvis swing back. Out breath. Yeah, and you might be discovering more range in this movement right now. And it might be easier to turn your knees out. So I'm starting to feel more work or more activity in my quads. I might have mentioned this in a previous class, but the quads, we often think of them as a muscle group that is used to move. It's also very important for stability. So when I engage my quads here, suddenly I have more space in my back. I can soften my front, and my chest pops up a bit. It's easier for me to pop up my chin. And I feel more activity in my back. And I can drop my shoulders. So I'm speaking this, just see for yourself, try it out for yourself what happens for you. And to do the work we're going to do today, I would like you to focus on your feet quite a bit to start. So how do you feel your feet on the floor? You feel your arches dropping in, or do you feel your arches lifting too much? Play with that a bit. So that's gonna maybe move your knees. You're gonna move your knees a bit to do that. See if you can find the place that is optimal. So dropping in and letting my knees drop as well. And then pressing on the outside of my foot. Do it a few times so that you can really feel the difference of what happens in the rest of your body when you do this. Knees, femurs, pelvis, lower back. You could also notice if there's any resonance of this in the top of your body. times, dropping your arch and then pulling it up. Nice. And then just stop doing that and see if you can find what you would feel is the place where your whole foot can spread on the floor. That includes your toes. So notice how much gripping you're doing in your toes right now. I'm doing considerable amount of gripping right now that I didn't know about. So see if you can spread out your toes and lengthen your toes forward. And see how this gives you an extra place to stand from. So an extra space to push up from. Keep turning your knees towards your second toe. Yeah. And would you scrunch up your toes and your feet? Yeah. And then let that be. And spread out your foot on the floor. Let's do that a few times. Scrunch up your feet. Scrunch up your feet. Scrunch up your feet. And try to keep that in your feet. Don't put it in your face like I'm doing. Lengthen your toes, your feet. One last time. Scrunch up your feet, not your shoulders, and lengthen on the floor. Yeah. What do you feel now? So you could pause the video, of course, take a few notes or note for yourself. For myself, what I'm feeling right now, I feel definitely more surface underneath my foot to stand from, and by that I mean that I feel more leg. I feel my legs more with that surface that I feel, and I feel I can lift myself off the floor that way instead of pulling myself up. I'm lifting up. Nice. So we're gonna work on our occipital joint right now. So I'm adamant, which I'm not usually in this class, but I'm adamant that you do this work with your eyes open, okay? Because this can be a little jarring. It's a very small movement, but any skull movement and anything involving the neck can quickly create readjustment in the vestibular part of your being, in your inner ear. There you go. So Skelly, thank you for helping me out with this. I'm going to turn Skelly here. The joint we're looking at right now is the atlas and the axis. So our skull sits on top of our spine, and it's quite a big structure. It's at least 16 pounds that we need to maneuver to keep on top of ourselves to live our lives and do our activities. And there's this very delicate small joint here. That's the atlas. That's the bone, and the joint is the relationship between these two parts. And there's also the axis, which is right underneath the atlas, and that allows for the swivel of the head. So this side. And the atlas allows for, well, actually his head is pinned down, so I can't do it. But for me, it allows my head to nod. Okay? A lot of the time what we do is that we do this with our necks. So I'm using a lot of my neck muscles to do this, and I actually don't need to. So we're gonna pay attention to this little part of ourselves right now. Thank you, Skelly. If you would put your fingers right in that little nook at the intersection between the top of your spine, so top of your neck, and your skull. So there's a little softer part there. Could you press into it? Make sure your elbows are in front of you so that your shoulder blades and your shoulders can be more relaxed and soft. Keep your nice strong base. So if you can, wide stance, Knees turning out, parallel feet, knees aligned with the second toe. Lengthen your back. So make sure you're not pulling your back out, so your pubic bone is aligned with your sternum. And then you can follow that ridge that we see quite well with Skelly here, since he's not wearing his skin today. So you can follow that ridge. You can even go play in the jaw here, in this little place here. So you can do that now. Follow the ridge. Notice how tense it is. How's the muscle there? And there's your jaw. You have your jaw over here. You can touch that too. And then you have that joint here. Open and close your jaw. See how it feels. Yeah. And back to this nook. Press in. You can always sigh in this class. You can also curse when it hurts. You're highly encouraged to do that. There you go. And then you're gonna drop your arms at your sides, and you're gonna, if it helps, you can keep your fingers there, and you're gonna move your skull on top of your spine. So very small nod, and do your best to do this without using your neck muscles. So it's a small movement. And one way that helps me do this is that if I focus on this part of my skull, I want to bring my forehead towards the lights or the ceiling. So forehead going up and forehead facing really straight on. So forehead up, forehead down. You could put your arm at your side. Try to do it without. Another way you could explore this movement is you could hold your jaw and just open up your mouth, but your jaw's not going to move, so your lower jaw is just staying there. So as if you're one of these puppets that you can just open the skull. Instead of moving the mouth like this, you just want to open up the skull. It might feel a bit awkward at first, but just revel, enjoy this new sensation. Discover what it feels like. Go back to the little nodding. A little nodding. If you've started scrunching up your feet, see if you can spread them out. See if this gives you a bit more delicate sensations in your skull. Yeah. And then let's go to the swivel. So that's the axis. So you're going to attempt to do this without using your neck muscles. So at first, just move as if you're moving. You want to move your nose. You're moving your nose. So swivel. And we've done this movement before on the floor. You want your neck long. And if you could extend the swivel a bit further, on the out breath, of course. In breath, you let the swivel come back, so you let your head come back to center and go to the other side and explore the limit of this movement. So of course, you're doing your best to notice if you are efforting to do this. If you are, see if you can drop that effort and reorganize yourself so that the effort is going in the right place. So I noticed that I was pulling my shoulders in. I stopped doing that. Yeah. And see if there's a bit more ease in this movement. Explore when you feel you've completed the movement. Which means, what is the edge? And what's the new edge? So the edge, as you do this, as you repeat this, the edge might be moving. And I mean by that it's different. It's a different edge now. I can see more. So I'm noticing I'm frowning a bit maybe when I'm doing this, or I'm using my eyes. So you're taking your eyes and your nose for a ride. One last time on each side. Yeah. And stay where you are. Maybe a little bit of nodding. How about some of nodding and swiveling? So you see how that feels to you. You could do this one with your eyes closed, as long as you're not feeling dizzy. And if at any point you're feeling dizzy, just take a breath. Notice if you're squeezing anywhere in your feet, in your ribs, and just explore what kind of range you have now, what kind of subtle movement you can feel with your skull. Yeah. So let's go to the floor now. You're just gonna arrange yourself on the floor. We're gonna start directly with our legs bent, feeling our torso on the floor. So give yourself a bit of time to arrive on the floor. And sometimes when we live our lives, our daily activities, we just move on just a tad too fast from one thing to another to really account for the sensations we're experiencing. So we have more of the leisure here in this class to explore that. So you could lengthen your spine towards the wall behind you, so that your waist has generous contact with the floor. Notice what's happening in the front of your body, the top, so in between the shoulders, depending on what your habits are. I know that I can have a lot of squeezing happening at the front. And let's just to feel that a bit. On the in-breath, let's bring our shoulders up a bit. And then out-breath, drop your shoulders and feel a delightful pressure, contact of your shoulder blades in the floor. So in-breath, a bit of lifting, but keep as much contact of your shoulder blades with the floor. Lift a bit, and then let the front of your body open. Your throat is very long, and you could pop your chin up. Eyes open. And one breath in, go up, keep the contact of your shoulder blades with the floor. And then breath out. Just let your shoulders melt into the floor. Wonderful. So, let's do something really fun. You're gonna lift one foot off the floor. Keep the lower leg dropped. And you're gonna bring that knee a bit more over your chest, like this. You could wiggle your leg a little bit and make sure that both sides of your pelvis are equally dropping into the floor. As I do this, I noticed that I was slightly pulling with my shoulders. I want that nice T shape with my shoulder blades in the floor in relationship to my spine, of course, and my pelvis. And now you're gonna grab your foot. So since we just started this, a lot of you is gonna be pulling up off from the floor. So what we want to do, we want to feel as much contact as possible between the torso and the floor. So your back, that includes your shoulder blades, your pelvis, and I want equal pressure of the pelvis on both sides. So on the next out breath, I'm going to start unfolding my leg, but I want to do this. As I do this, I want to keep my arm very long. I want to keep my shoulder blade on the floor. So out breath. Then in breath, just soften, release that a bit. If your shoulder's lifting off the floor like mine, you might have to fidget a bit with how you're holding your foot. And one thing that could happen is if you're holding the front of your arm too firmly and not letting your arm rotate, then you have way less space. So let your arm rotate when you unfold your leg. And see if you can drop your arm, drop your shoulder, unfold, breath out. Then breath in, soften a bit. See if you can keep that shoulder blade on the floor, and then unfold again. Yeah. I just noticed that I was pulling my chin in. Do as I say, not as I do. So stop pulling your chin in if you're doing that. Let your skull rest. I'm also pulling up my tailbones, so I've stopped doing that. I definitely feel more contact of my whole torso and that nice double T shape between my shoulders, my spine, and my pelvis. So I want to keep that as my focus. Unfold and breathe in. So do this a few times. And readjust if you feel your hand is slipping. There's also one thing that's very important. So to give you more ability or agency in this movement, you want to focus on your midline. If I'm dropping everything out, I'm out of my midline. So bring your knees, both knees, towards the center, towards the midline. See if that helps you. And unfold your leg. Turn out, let your arm turn out. Yeah. So you see that rotation? If I stiffen my arm like this, I'm very stiff. But if I let it rotate, I have more length on the side of my body as well. Okay? Let that go. And I literally mean let go of your foot here. And just lie on the floor. Let's do the other side. See if there's any change you feel first. You could readjust, lengthen your spine towards the wall behind you. Long neck, easy eyes, easy shoulders, and you're gonna lift your foot off. Bring your knee over your leg. Notice move your lower leg side to side so that it moves your leg and your hip like this. And see how much, if you can do this without compensating on the other side. Compensating meaning I'm moving the other side, or I'm not dropping the other side to the floor anymore, and I'm going to grab my foot. So there might be considerable difference between both sides. And on the breath out, I'm going to start unfolding my foot. I might do this side a bit more quickly, so you can take your time a bit more. I was just speaking about the midline, so I just readjusted my knee, the bent knee, and this knee as well, and the unfolding leg towards the midline, and I definitely feel more ability, more strength. The thing is, you want strength, but you also want space. So keep the contact of your shoulder blades, your pelvis on the floor. See if you're pulling up anything. On the out breath, you're unfolding your leg. In breath, you can loosen a bit or bring back your leg, and then out breath. Do this a few times. So this side is way easier for me. I've had less impact sports injuries on this side. A few more times. Keep the full contact of your torso and see how delightful this length can feel in the back of your body. I've dropped my shoulder just now, unfold. And should I remind you that it's not about achieving a long leg. It's about creating space and directing effort in the right place, so you can be toned in some places and very spacious in some other spaces of your body. One more time, so breathe in. And if I let my arm turn out like this, have more space, then let your foot go. Put it down on the floor. Just lie there for a little bit. Enjoy what that means to you, what this feels. And then when you're ready, you're gonna shift to your side. You can take your time for this. I'm going a bit too fast. Just make your way to standing. Keep your eyes open. And just stand and see how this feels to you. I feel the back of my body quite a bit, and I would love to press myself into the wall just to see how this feels. You could try that if you have a free wall somewhere. So you're going to put if you've done this before, you might remember, but you're pressing your heels into the wall, and you're going to press the whole back of your body into the wall as you join your toes, your second toe knuckle or foot knuckle, your heels, your ankles, your knees, as well as the side of your arms on the side of your body. And you're going to press yourself into the wall and see how that feels. And try to find as much surface of your back to press into the wall. Yeah, let that be. Just come back to me right here. Thank you very much. That's the end of our lesson today. I enjoyed working with you. Thank you very much, and have a great day. This is Isabelle.